Shabbat shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom. All right. Blessings to you. If you will, as I'm talking and discussing the book, let me know you hear me okay. Let me know if you see me okay. Please ask your questions, comments. I'm here to talk about and discuss the book. I got a lot of great reviews. I got a lot of great reviews, and I believe the book is doing what I intended for it to do. Um, I am just overwhelmed with the response, with the feedback, and I want to let you all know that I truly love you all that went out and soon, as soon as I said that the book was done, I mean, people ordered their copies like immediately, and I want to say that I'm so thankful, and I'm so grateful. Um, I'm so grateful. I'm just trying to get some technical stuff worked out, you all. But I'm thankful, I'm grateful that you all, so far, I don't know if you all have finished reading the book, but however far you are, I hope that it is blessing you tremendously. I wanted to be here as a support system with the book. The book does um, work up some emotions. You all, listen, you all may not have been through what I have been through. I'm going to turn this fan off one moment, you all. I forgot I had it on. I know you can hear it in the background. But I don't know. I don't know if you all have been through what I've been through. Maybe not as, maybe not as extreme, maybe, if I can say that. But if it don't have to be the same circumstance, it don't have to be the same situation. But I'm here to let you know, through my testimony, how you can work through what we face here on earth. Again, the book had been in the making for years. The book had been in the making for years, and so I finally um, co- what can I collected all the different components, and one day I just sat down and I just put it together, and the copyright, at first I was trying to find publishers, but I didn't have the money, and I seen my cousin um, had published her book. um, I think her book, I should have had her information, but I think Marriage Ain't for Punks. Sharon Mason, that's my cousin. Marriage Ain't for Punks. She's a like a family counselor. She's in the counseling, and I guess I'm giving a shout out to her. But I reached out to her and asked her how did she publish her book, and she said she did it on Amazon, and so that's how I was able to do that. And I'm just sharing the beginning of all this with you all. I want to inspire. I want this book to inspire, encourage. Um, I know everybody you run into, they say, "Oh, you got a book in you, you got a book in you," and and everybody has something that they can say, that they can. It don't have to be like your um, I'm just overwhelmed. That's what I am, y'all. It don't have to be, your personal testimony. It can be about anything. It can be about cooking. It can be about all type anything that you want. There's somebody interested in what you got to say. That's all I want to say. But I want to talk about the book, and please ask your questions. I have my daughter here who's going to help me ask questions. If I'm not able to see the questions in the comments, then she's going to hand me a little note, and I'll read the question and I'll answer the question. First, let me say my little sister is on Amazon.com. Now you have to type in for the author, just Ginger Williams, which is on my book. If you type that in, you won't be able to pull the book up. You have to type in Miss MRS Ginger E. Williams, and then it will come up. My little sister on Amazon.com. And if you go to Amazon.com, please leave a review there as well. But let me know how far you got. Let me know what you think. Please dialogue with me, so I want to get this book in the right hands. I want to get it to the right crowd of people. I want to get it to those who it can help. If you go to, it's a portion in my book that I said the reason why I'm writing a book. Let me go to it. I have so many markers. I said this is the reason. This is on page 73. This is the reason for my book. I had come to realize that I am only one person who cannot be everywhere all the time and sit down and talk with every little girl, teenager, or woman. And so I decided to write this book, really praying that it reaches all the hands it needs to reach. All right? So I'm going to need you to help me get this book in the right hands. I believe anything that anyone celebrates, okay, the best present that you can give them is information. If you know of a teenager, maybe a troubled teenager, maybe a young lady who's trying to figure out her life, maybe you got someone in your life that you are talking to, a young lady. This is not limited to young women as well. But maybe you got a young person that you're ministering to or talking to and counseling, and they kind of call you all the time for this information and that information. I believe that if you put this book in their hands, that it will help them a lot. I cover a lot of areas. I cover areas from all the way back as my childhood that I could remember, unto my being a little girl, into my teenage years, into my 20s, and even my 30s. All right, and even a little bit in my 40s. Until I published the book, I tried to add as much. Now my second book has to be about being 50 and over, the second half of my life. But and you all bear with me, I may do a little bit of moving things around because I'm kind of recording at the same time. But I have come to realize that we have to be one another's support system. All right. And so this is one of my ways. This is one of my ways. This will help. This will help. I touch on a lot of things. I touch on a lot of things. I touch on being in school. I touch on peer pressure. I touch on, young adult years, what you may experience in your young adult years. I touch on the importance of education, the importance of pursuing and conquering in the midst of your trials and your tribulations. All right. So I'm coming today because I just want to offer my time. I feel that I have to offer my support along with this book. In this book, the most beautiful thing about it, after every chapter is a space. I ask questions. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to work two cameras, you all. But I asked you questions to fill in. All right. And listen, I had someone tell me that they didn't write in their lines because they wanted to share the book. This book is personal. That's why you have to purchase another book for somebody else. All right. Because it's going to become your little personal diary. All right. It helps you work through some things. You can do this in the privacy of your own home. What I touched on, this is very private. All right. I touched on some very private and intimate, personal, in-depth areas. And maybe you don't feel as comfortable right now talking with somebody, your experiences, your trials and your tribulations and what you've been through. All right. This book will help you work through that. All right. It'll help you work through that without feeling pressured to display your personal, intimate moments in your life. All right. We all have been through something. We're going to continue to go through something. But I believe if we offer the right support system, I want to be here as a support system. I want to tell you something. My daughters, I want to share some feedback concerning the book. My daughters, they said, Mama, I asked them, I sent them all the book and a copy of the book. And they said, Mama, well, does it talk about this and that and this and that, some personal things? And I said, yeah. I said, there may be some things that I haven't talked to you about concerning my life and how I grew up. But it may be something that I have shared. All right. And so they said, well, we ain't ready to read it. We're not ready to read it. And I understood that because this is concerning their mom. All right. But just because they said we're not ready to read it lets me know that this book, the feedback that I'm getting from this lets me know that the intentions of this book is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you. It's supposed to bring up emotions. We don't like to deal with emotions. We don't like to deal with our emotions. We're afraid of that area, so we'll do a lot of things to cover up. All right, we'll cover up stuff. But then if something comes in our life and and may come and trigger that, but we don't know what's being triggered. All right. And so we're just reacting, not realizing that there is something deeper that's triggering. All right. Something deeper that's going on that something else was able to trigger. And because that areas of our life haven't been dealt with, they tend to have the tendency to hold us back. All right. And hold us back from reaching our accomplishments, our dreams, fulfilling our dreams and visions. They become a stumbling block even in our personal lives, in our relationships. All right, relationships with just people. I'm not talking about marriages and our family, but relationship on jobs. All right, that areas of our life that we do not deal with, that we didn't have no control over. Okay, we didn't have no control over. And but they are there and they must be dealt with. A lot of things that happen in our childhood, we didn't have any control over that, but because it did happen, then it has to be dealt with. That's all I'm saying. No, you're not the perpetrator. You didn't cause it, but yet it still left something, a residual that has to be dealt with. All right, that you gotta face. All right, and if you don't face it, what happens is it will cause you to be very resentful against the things and people that you shouldn't resent. All right, when people come in your life, all right, it can be co-workers, it can just be people in general that we were built to interact, but when we can't interact properly, all right, then you never know, you can be hindering someone that's in your life to help you, all right, along the way. But yet, because we haven't dealt with certain things in our certain areas in our life, what happens is we'll push the people, we'll push visions, we'll push dreams, we'll push opportunities away. All right, because of something that's happening with us. So I know I had to put this out. Why? Because I faced the situations and circumstance. I faced the wrongdoings. I faced the wrongs in my life. I'm trying to talk not pastoral, you all. I'm not trying to preach. So I'm watching my words very carefully. But I watched how I dealt with certain situations. Y'all, excuse me. I talk so much. You all know I talk so much. So, what is that? So I wanted to offer what I did that helped me overcome, to handle, to balance. Another question that I'm going to bring up is, people said my daughter, who is 14, she came to me. She's my daughter by marriage, and she began to read the book. She came to me and she asked me, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said, Pastor Ginger, can I ask you, man, how are you able to be the way you are? Because she began to read all the mishaps and the situations and circumstances. She said, you know, just how are you the way you are? And I had to think about it for a moment. And I told her two reasons. I told her the best two reasons. There are many, many more reasons, but the best two reasons I could give her was it had to be Abba, Father, the Creator in my life. It had to be Him. And I also told her about my dad. I told her about the characteristics of my dad. And I told her that my dad was a very calm man. And I believe that because I inherited some of those characteristics of remaining calm, regardless, that helped me. It helped me. And what I'm saying is that as you begin to read in the book, as you begin to read and you begin to ponder, wow, you went through this and that and experienced this and experienced that, and how, because what people are amazed with as they read the book, because they're looking at me now at 52. They're looking at the end result, like not the end, but they're looking at me now. They're looking at me like, if I never have known these things about you, your character just don't display. All right, you know that old cliche, and I'm not hung up on cliches, but the cliche that says you don't look like what you've been through. And I made a decision that what I'm going to do is that I'm going to turn all this negativity that I have experienced, and I'm going to make it positive. I'm going to see the positive in. That's what I decided to do. I decided to do that. I just said, I'm going to just be the positive. Like, I made a decision that some of the things that went on with me, I'm not going to take on that responsibility because I didn't cause it. And I'm not going to take on another person's responsibility. I'm not going to take on their wrong because they did something negative to me, that I'm not going to take that on. I made a decision, so I always say I'm not taking that on. I'm not taking that on. That means that I'm not responsible for that action. And so that's how I handle what you read too. That's how I've handled. And I said, I'm just going to turn the negative into positive. And that's the reason for all the, as you read about the achievements, all right, you read about the like how are you, all this, how's your mind? How did you go and get a bachelor's and a master's? And how's your mentality that you are in a leadership position, that you pastor people? And I believe I'm in the best position. I believe because of experience, all right, that I can better help persons in their situations. When I say that I understand, I really mean I understand. You know, I understand what you're going through. And so that's what the book helps. That's what the book helps. I'm not going to be on here too long. Not too long. But please let me know if you have any questions and any comments. Let's talk. Let's dialogue. That's why this is here. And I tried to come on At least once a month. I have to give people enough time to, read the book. Give them enough time to read the book. Excuse me, y'all. I'm recording as well. But I will try to come on here once a month. If you want to talk about what you put in your sections, at the end of each chapter, we can talk about that. Another portion of the book that I said, because you know what? A lot of times it helps us to understand where another person has come from and their environment, how they were raised, and what they've went through. And so there's a portion in my book, because as you read my book, what I did, not excusing, but I'm a person, I really don't like to play the blame game. I don't like to blame. I don't like to say, well, you're the reason for this. I try to understand why a person is the way that they are. Thank you. My daughter's helping me. I'm gonna answer this in a few. I try to understand a person where they at, okay? And even though they may impose their will on me, I want to know why. I want to know why they are imposing their negative will on me, so that I can take the proper approach. That means so that I can react appropriately to help. Do I always know? But what I want to always do is, the more I know why someone's imposing their negative will onto me, it will help me to see if I can become a part of the solution and not the problem. Does that make sense? Because we all are our brother's keepers. We all are. Even if you don't know them, we all are our brother's keeper. So again, going back, I try not to do the blame game, because we're people. And I believe people, majority of the time, I believe people go off the knowledge that the only knowledge that they have. Okay, so it says, in spite of, on page 112, in spite of my raisings, and you're going to say, how can she make a statement like that? In spite of my raisins, I wouldn't trade any of it. I wouldn't ask for a different mom. The mom that I was so blessed with was just right for me. Her imperfections and all. I learned a lot from her. I learned how to maintain my tenacity and self-respect, living in what appears sometimes a cold and cruel world. Daisy's wisdom is what helps me to make hard decisions to survive. I appreciate my mom for who she is and was to me. She did not have a lot of material possessions to give me, but she taught me a lot of wisdom that I say is more precious than rubies and pearls. So that's what I said. As you read about my mishaps, that's what I end up saying. So how can you come out of that? How can you come out of all that with placing your mom as being a mom that you still have to honor? All right. So here's a question from Emmanuel. This is my son through marriage. He's uh, 12. I keep want to keep him at 10. He said, how did you overcome the negativity? Well, Emmanuel, at first it was very hard. I'm not going to say that I overcame negativity like instantaneously. It was very, very hard. Um, because I didn't have the tools early in my childhood years and in my teenage years, those years were very, those were years that I was very, I was angry. You know, I was always angry. And I didn't know why I was angry. I had no idea. But as I approached my late 20s and early 30s, and I'm going to tell you what helped me. Church helped me. Church helped me so much. I went to church as little neighbors took me to church. I mentioned a neighbor that took me to church. I'm not going to call her by name. I didn't want to call them by name. I think I kind of slipped and called my two friends by name, but I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to keep them anonymous. But a neighbor, um, very dear, I mentioned her in the book, took me to church as a little girl, and everywhere we moved, people always took me to church. But when I became an adult, um, uh-oh. Hold on, you all. I don't know why it's disconnecting, sis. Oh, let's see. Do you all don't see me, do you?